I was listening to the first episode this morning and we covered a lot about sales, why sales is good, getting into sales, the opportunity sales can give you. We also covered a lot about communication and I guess the practical side of sales. Mm-hmm. I think today will be really good to cover, I think, more the mental side of sales. I think, yes, sales is a lot about what do you say and how do you say it and what's your tone and what's your body language, but there's a whole other side of it that I think is so, so important, and that is your mindset, your attitude, your habits, what you're doing on a daily basis. So I feel like that's a good thing to cover today.
This podcast, 7 hours, 8 hours, that's it.
Well,
I could talk forever on those subjects. So some of my favourite stuff to talk about, actually. So
you were very optimistic that we would get through it all today. I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't think we will.
I knew I was being optimistic, but we're here to talk about sales, right?
Listen, if we get past page one.
Optimism not the number one thing people should have in sales. Like, exactly. If there's a chance, there's a chance.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but yeah,
there's
sure.
There's a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try and get past question 1, right?
I think a good first place to start is mindset. Yep. I think that's quite a good overall description of the mental side of sales. So how important is your mindset in sales, and how important is your mindset to your success in sales as well?
If we're talking specifically sales, 99% of the battle's what's going on inside your head, but I'll actually say life. I think your mindset, I think everybody's realised over the past 5 years, we talk a lot about mental awareness, emotional intelligence. I think what goes on in your brain is portrayed outside. So if you're good in here, you're good out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think it's a sales thing. I think sales, and this is just my personal opinion, sales makes people better at life because it teaches them to have a strong mindset and teaches them to be resilient, teaches them emotional intelligence, teaches them control versus not control, right? Teaches them to accept some things and learn others. And so I think that we battle that goes on in everybody's head every single day. I think you're more exposed in sales because you're, for the most part, for anybody who's, you see anywhere in the world, anybody that's worth their salt in sales, this might offend some people, but they're on performance, they work in commission. Yeah. They put themselves in position where they're constantly under pressure. So my wife would say someone like that's a psychopath, the same as she thinks someone that goes into the octagon's a psychopath or boxing, because they're people who put themselves in danger. Yeah. I think people that get into sales or get into things where they're put under that amount of pressure, the mental toughness that comes from that is unbelievable, but I think is probably the most important. The Marines actually had this commercial, the Marines who are Marines and are probably the best Marines in the world, soldier by soldier. I think we train them to be best, but they had this advert, right, years ago, and I'll never forget it, and it says 99% of the people need not apply. Yeah. And the wee logo at the end, or the wee statement at the end, was it's a state of mind. So even the toughest soldiers, I would deem, if we call Marine soldiers, soldier by soldier in the British forces, what I would deem is really hard people, even there they're saying it's all mindset. Anybody can learn how to run and do pull-ups, and anybody can learn how to pull a trigger and load a gun, but if you don't have the right mental state, you're never going to do all that stuff. Yeah, true. And the drop-off rate in the Marines, or the drop-off rate in the parachute regiment, the drop-off rate in anything where your mindset's really important is really high. But for the people that get through it, there's a strong-willed and a strong mind that get through it. It's not the most skilled. It's not the strongest guy that gets through it. It's not the physically strongest guy that passes the Marines training. It's the person who's got the mental toughness, and that's what they were trying to portray, was you can be physically fit, and that 99% of you need not apply, and I'm sure that everybody that applies to the Marines physically will be fit. So sorry, I'm going off on a wee tangent here about mindset and Marines, but that stuck with me. But I think I was taught that in sales, 99% of it is what goes on in your head, and we call it attitude in the sales world, right? But your attitude is your perception, and your perception is whatever you're thinking in your head. If I think something's a bad situation, my attitude towards it is a bad situation. If I think it's an opportunity to learn how to overcome something, then I'm going to look at it in a more positive light. So
your perception of it as well, how you perceive the event.
People that are good at sales actually love challenges, and they get bored when things are good. They don't like it. Just the same as somebody, again, let's just go Marines and forces, they thrive under pressure. They're at their best version of themselves when they're being challenged mentally, not physically. So I think coming into sales, I also think you can develop the mindset. I know you can develop the mindset. So you don't have to have the strong mindset to come in, but if you're somebody who's looking to develop a really resilient, strong mindset, either for, what you're going to endure in life, because everybody's going to endure some challenges in life, that's just, no pun intended, that's just life, or whether they want to get into a career, maybe the forces, maybe the police, maybe medicine, where they obviously have to be resilient and mentally strong because they're going to be under a high pressure situation a lot of the times. So sales develops a strong mindset. I think it's probably the most important thing in it, because again, you can have all the sales skill in the world, but if your head's not in the right place, it's useless. It's like having a lovely car with foot wheels.
Not very handy.
Beautiful car going nowhere, right? If I got all the skill in the world, but my head's not in the right place, I'm not going to get anywhere. So I'd say the number one thing I've learned in that is resilience and having a strong mindset, which, came really handy. We spoke about this morning with one of our sales teams, and it came in handy when we all got locked down and put in the houses. And, I was very thankful that I'd been in, I'm not saying it's the only industry where people reacted positively, but I was thankful that I'd been in the sales industry and had a really good thought process and controlling my emotions, because I never actually reacted negatively or got angry. But if I hadn't been in sales,
who knows how you'd have acted?
Construction, me would have got angry at everybody in the world. I'm not going to start pointing fingers, but I'd have been angry, upset, frustrated, scared, anxious. I would have been all that stuff, but because of the mindset I got for being in sales, I didn't feel any of that the whole time. I was kind of cool, calm, and looking back, I was probably a little bit too cool, calm and collective about it. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's all about perception. I'll never forget, we were visiting our Edinburgh office the day before we locked down, and there was rumours that the next day we were going to be locked down. I remember we looked at each other and we were like, this is great. Think of all the stuff that we can do, that we can get done, that we don't have time to. So I think it is how you look at things. And you can decide to look at all the negatives, and you can decide to look at all the bad points and all the, well, this could happen and what if this happens, but that's not going to put you in a healthy headspace. Or you can decide to look at it as what a great opportunity. And I think that's how we looked at it. And coming out of lockdown, when we came into the real world again, and our tagline on all of our ads for ages was, we're thriving, not just surviving.
No, that's right. So we will.
Because it's how you view things.
I think you got to have a winning attitude to be in sales, or you got to develop a winning attitude to be good. It's like a sport. And I call it stupid belief system. And stupid belief means even if it seems like you're not going to win, you somehow believe you're going to win. Yeah. I call it stupid belief. It's that stupid belief that, again, we'll go away for just sales, but anybody who's an entrepreneur, like anybody that wants to get into sport, like you stupidly believe that no matter what, you get to where you want to go, right? That's the people that get in, I suppose, the best forces. That's the people that end up in the best jobs. That's the sports people get paid the most money. The people who, when everything's gone against them still, and everybody's telling them they're stupid for believing they're still going to get it, who still believe. That's why I call it stupid belief. Yeah. When people look at me and tell me I'm stupid for thinking what I think, I know I'm doing the right thing. But sales develops that mentality, because if you don't have that, you're probably not going to be good at sales.
So my next question on from that would be about maintaining that. And the way you've always explained it is, you always talk about it's a muscle. And your attitude and things like that is always a muscle. You have to train that. So what's your advice to someone who wants to, have a very positive mindset, wants to have that positive attitude, but sometimes you do lose it? How do you get that back? How do you maintain being in that good space? And what are some things that you can do to make sure you get back to it quicker and quicker each time?
Before we talk about getting it back, because there's a couple of things that is like training a muscle. So if you think about training a muscle, the first thing, if anybody wants to develop that, if you want to train a muscle to be strong, you first of all have to tear the muscle. You literally have to tear the muscle, and you literally have to feel pain. I was explaining this to my wife the other day about training, right? Yeah. And I'm like, to grow a muscle, you actually have to tear the muscle. So that burning feeling is the muscle tearing. So if you're not willing to tear the muscle, you're not willing to go through pain, the muscle just generally won't get stronger.
Won't be exercised.
Your body gets stronger when you overload it with things it can't cope with. So your body's coping mechanism goes up for strength. So if you lift a weight that's too heavy for you, your body goes, we need to get stronger so that doesn't kill us next time. And so it gets stronger. Just a little analogy of training. And if you want the muscle, you got to tear the muscle for it to repair itself in order for it. So first of all, if you want to have a positive attitude, you got to put yourself in a role or a position where your attitude's actually being tested every day.
Yeah.
Because if you're not feeling the pain of being tested and you don't lose it loads of times, you'll never learn how to keep it. So you got to learn how to lose it. You got to lose it loads first to learn how to keep it. And also by losing it, you'll learn how strong it is. Just like if I go to the gym, I'll keep putting weights on till I hit failure, and then I realise where my strength's at, and then I can go for there about where I'd like my strength to be and how to get there. So first of all, I think put yourself in sales is a good situation to put yourself in for that, naturally. Forces, there's other examples, but there's a lot of things required to get into the forces that you don't require in sales, right? And it's obviously a very different job and a lot more high pressure than your life's in the line, whatever. But if you want to develop, so first of all, I think you have to figure out where your attitude's at. So then you've got to learn how to have a good attitude, and that is, we'll get into habits, routines, and environment, and all that stuff later on. So I think you have to learn how to have it. We've got at the gym is just, you got to turn up first. If you don't turn up, doesn't matter how strong you are, you won't get stronger. Then you got to recognise when you lose it and be honest about it. But how do you get it? How do you get it back? And how do you maintain your attitude? Lots of wee things to go with that. How do I maintain an attitude? First of all, my purpose is always bigger than what I'm doing. So there's always a bigger reason. Now, if I had a whiteboard here, I would draw on the whiteboard. And human brains, we make decisions on cost and reward basis, right? So we want to do a podcast. But why do we want to do a podcast? Because I'm like, oh, that's going to take 2 hours of time. That's going to cost some money. Laddie, we have to put up. It's going to cost a lot of work. But what's the one? If the work of doing the podcast wasn't worth it, and there wasn't a bigger reason and a bigger one, then we wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
You feel like a McDonald's, and you're like, for those that eat McDonald's, right? I feel like a McDonald's. Back in the day, I felt like a McDonald's 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning. But the cost is you have to go to McDonald's. And so sometimes the reward, you were that hungry and you wanted it that bad that it was worth the trip. Other times you didn't want it bad enough, so therefore it wasn't worth the trip. It's how you do it. So on a cost and reward basis, you're never going to change the cost of success. You're never going to change it in the gym and sales. The pain's going to be the pain no matter what you do. All you got to do is get good at making the reward much bigger, which belittles the cost. So someone training for a bodybuilding competition, sorry, I'm giving loads of examples here, but someone who's training for
everyone.
I'm trying my best here. But someone who's training for a bodybuilding competition, who's got a comp coming up in 6 weeks, and someone training just to feel good in a t-shirt, are going to be willing to put themselves through different levels of pain, because the one's a much bigger one. Somebody training for an Olympic gold in a marathon is going to train harder than somebody doing a marathon for charity, period, just because the reward's so big that the cost seems really worth it. So I think you got to tap into, you hear loads of things about biohacking. This is not so much biohacking. I would definitely say this is psychological hacking yourself.
100%.
So I think you've got to have a big enough purpose so the cost is worth it. That'll help you endure it and stop you losing it so much. That's how I maintain it. That's how I stop losing it, because every time I go to lose it, I remind myself of why I'm doing it. Just like when you're in the gym and you feel the pain, you remind yourself why you're feeling the pain, and it'll help you endure more pain. So that's it. If I lose it, I just realign myself. I look at it like, if I lose my attitude, it's like I'm on a track to a destination. I come off the track.
Yeah.
I've got to recognise I'm off the track, which is recognising I've lost it. And then I've got to go, oh, wait a minute, this is not the right direction I'm going in. And I've got to realign myself to get back on the right path to do it. I get over things very quickly. I don't hold grudges. I don't take things personally. Also get over myself very quickly and don't feel sorry for myself. Anytime someone used to actually, when I started my sales training career in 2004, right? 2003. Anytime I was with someone who lost an attitude and had the wrong mindset and felt sorry for themselves, because that's what we do, we feel sorry for ourselves. I used to, and you think your life's hard and you think it's bad. This is a life thing as well. When you think your life's tough, I used to get them to go get a newspaper, and I'd say, read the first 3 pages of the news and then come back and tell me your life's hard.
Yeah.
And no one would ever get to the 3rd page.
Some perspective.
Again, perspective, right?
Yeah.
We think our world's horrible, and our world's not horrible in any capacity. So there's always something worse going on, and so get over yourself, have a bigger goal, then you need a bigger goal than the now. We call it long-term goals, purpose, vision. You'll hear this all the time anywhere you go, where you're looking into kind of entrepreneurship or getting good at sales.
And I think having it be personal as well, and having it actually mean something to you. I think a lot of the time, and we hear this a lot, you know, when you've got people come in and, you know, you talk about having that purpose or those goals, and a lot of the time people say things because they think it sounds good, or they think that is what it should be.
Yeah.
That sounds like an answer I should give. I should say I want to be a millionaire, or I want to drive this car, or but if it doesn't mean anything to a person, it's not going to have the desired effect. So I think it's also just actually being honest of what does that mean to me, and what does that look like to me. And I also think it's fine to change. Like, I think I might be wrong, but I imagine 20 years ago is very different to what it is for you now, because you evolve as a person a lot, don't you?
Yeah, you do. A lot of the life I have just now was the one that I dreamed about when I was in my 20s, starting sales, which got me through a lot of hard days. Actually, I tell a funny story with it being arrogant or obnoxious, right? So I remember somebody once saying to me when I lost my attitude, because I had my first kid, and there was a boy called Steve Harris. Shout out if you ever watch this, buddy. But he trained me, and I'll never forget, I lost my attitude, and my mindset was all over the place, and I'm like, I don't know if sales is for me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's like, your kid's, he's like, you got a kid, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, your kid will be 17 one day, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, your kid's got to drive a car, right? And I'm like, yep. You think your kid will ask you for it? I says, yeah. And bear in mind, I'm 23, kid's 4.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near this thought process. I'm thinking about having money at the weekend to go drinking, right? Feed the kid first, drink second. Just got to be clear on that one. And he says, when your kid asks you at 17 if he can have a car, what's your answer going to be? I'm like, oh, that cut me deep. He's like, you got to tell them that they can't get a car because you couldn't keep your attitude and you felt sorry for yourself. Or you're going to say yes because you could keep your attitude and you get your head out your butt. We'll say Stephen wasn't the most PC guy.
Yeah.
And I got my attitude back that day and I had a great day, and he won't know this to this day. He was the person that really taught me how to come back for attitude, because I was feeling really sorry for myself. I thought it was horrible, sales wasn't for me, etc. So anyway, fast forward, funny story. Buy that kid a car. Thought nothing of it. Get my second kid, who's now 19, Amy, and I got her a car, and I can't remember where I was, but I was at the country, and her car was ready. And I remember her mum getting really upset at me because Amy asked, can I go get the car? And I says to her, well, no, you can't go get the car. I want to be there. And her mum got really upset and she says, you're being really selfish. And I says, you know what, I'm actually being really selfish. Do you know how many days me handing her the keys to that car got me through?
Yeah.
And you remember that, right?
100%.
What's funny is I'd bought my dream car 2 days before.
Yeah.
Which was fine, and I'd spoke about that in my life, but giving her the keys to that car meant way more to me than that. Not because I thought I was being a cool dad, it's because the amount of times I envisioned doing that and her giving me a hug for buying a car, the amount of times it got me out of my bed, and the amount of times it made me just go, one more day, I suppose, or one more week. Because that guy, Steve, I hope to meet him one day and tell him how much an impact it actually made me. And he probably even didn't know, but that cut me deep. And that for me it was easy for me because I had a kid, right? One kid at the time. But that was a big reward in my head that made the cost seem worth it and made me get my head out my butt. So, because I really wanted to give her the key, because I'd envisioned that. She was 17 by the time she got the key. In fact, she was older than 17, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So she was
last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, for she was born then. It must have been 18, 19 years. I just always thought about being in a position to do that. And that thought put a smile on my face and gave me, like you're saying, it gave me an emotional attachment to it, where it was personal, and the thought of doing it. Albeit I gave her the keys, we got a picture taken, the emotion was gone within about 5 minutes and we moved on. But that actually got me through a lot of days thinking about doing that or not. Yeah, it was nice. I mean, now I'm done because I got 5 kids and they're all fully expecting a car.
The taste gets more expensive as the kids go on.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what you're saying, but with personal is good. When I teach people how to set big goals and purpose, I tell them as they put a smile on their face, and if they can figure out something that not only makes them smile but brings a wee bit of an emotional tear to their eye. I'm not saying cry. I'm saying fills them with. Do you know when you get filled with joy where your eyes water up?
Gives you warm and fuzzy feelings.
Not that you ever feel that.
Wow.
Because
oh my God.
you're cold. I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, that warm fuzzy, because then you attach, when you smile and something brings that emotion, your brain then attaches it to you feeling good, and now you've got something that's personal. And the reason why personal, no, business should be an action. The personal, it shouldn't be like I'm working to create a life. I'm not working to work and pay bills, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so true, and it will be different for everyone. And don't worry about how it sounds to other people. And I also think it's something that you don't just sit down for 5 minutes and think, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and come up with my whole purpose for life. I do think it's
life plan.
Yeah, I think it's something that you do have to spend some time thinking about and really kind of getting deep with yourself and getting kind of honest with yourself as well.
True.
And it's not a 5 minute thing in the morning on the way into work.
I tell people a minimum of 5 hours. I tell them to turn the phone off and go up a hill. Actually, anytime I need to reset goals or reset a vision or purpose, I take 5 hours. I actually done this 10 weeks ago. Woke up on a Sunday. I was all over the place. I like lost purpose and goals. And I woke my wife up on a Sunday and I says, can I please just have 5 hours in my own wee world? And she understands it. And I took 5 hours. I switched my phone off. I came back. I realigned what I wanted. Because I think every time you hit a goal, you got to reset it again. Because going back to mental, regardless of how successful you are, having that big reward justifies the cost. And when you've not got that big reward and you're doing the cost, the pain's just going to feel way more painful. So you've always got to be ahead there, and it does have to be personal. And for some people that's cars, for some people it's living in a nice neighbourhood. Again, you were right, you don't have to be rich, you just have to figure out, for me, what kind of life you want to live. At one point my goal was just not to have neighbours, because I grew up in a 4-block house. I didn't care where I stayed, I just cared that there was a house that stood at sale with no neighbours' noise. That was my whole goal in life. Like, it was the happiest guy in the world when that happened, but that wears thin after a while when you need a
It's levelling up.
Yeah, I started in sales. I didn't want to be rich. I didn't want to make a lot. I just wanted to be able to afford a house that never had 3 other houses attached to it at the same time.
Fair.
So,
okay.
No,
and how important is sharing that with other people for accountability? How important is that? So whoever maybe you're looking to as a coach or as a mentor, or someone who's kind of there as a bit of a support system, is it important to share that, or are they very personal things to kind of keep to yourself?
Nah, you got to share it. You got to share it with the people that are coaching you, so they know what they're coaching you towards and what they're pushing you towards and what's in it for you, so they can hold you accountable. I think the other thing is, we can't call it, I don't know if we can call it biohacking. I think I've never explained this like this, maybe psychological warfare on yourself or psychological tricks in yourself, but I tell everybody my goals. I am very loud, as you know, about the stuff I want. And the reason why I've done that is I don't like to look stupid. It's like when I came off sugar, right? And I told the whole world I wasn't going to eat sugar. I didn't tell the whole world I wasn't eating sugar, or when I came off alcohol, I wasn't telling everybody to tell everybody.
To say, look at me.
No, I was telling everybody, because the more people I tell, the more I can't do it. Because if I do it, then I look stupid, and people don't trust me and nobody will respect me.
Yeah, more people to catch you out.
Yeah, and people think they've caught me out before and they've not. Someone caught me with dark chocolate once. They says, you said you're not eating sugar. I'm like, it's dark chocolate. So, it's
Read the ingredients.
Yeah. Or a non-alcoholic beer. And they're like, I thought you weren't drinking. I'm like, it's not alcohol, right? But again, when you say you're going to do something, I think, tell your coach, whatever. Tell everybody. But only tell everybody if you really, 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 really mean it. Because that's why I'm very careful when I set goals. And you say take time, and I'm very strategic, because they have to mean everything to me, but also have to be willing to do everything to get it, and never ever stop, and never, because you can either make excuses or get stuff done.
Yeah.
So when I say stuff, I can either then make excuses for not doing it or get stuff done.
Yeah, you do it or you don't do it. There's no you kind of did it.
No,
you did or you didn't.
No, there's no, I don't know, the Star Wars, most people that watch this probably when you've watched Star Wars, a wee green dude called Yoda, and he says there's no try, there's only do, or something along those lines, when someone's like, I'm trying.
Well, like, guy like Yoda.
Life doesn't reward you for trying. Life rewards you for getting stuff done, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So I think it's important, but also, and this is why I called it psychological warfare on yourself, or psychological tricks. I'm going to find the correct way of describing that. Your ego comes into play. Your ego's a really powerful tool, It's that wee voice in your head that tells you how wonderful you are all the time, right? It's that voice in your head that tells you somebody's more successful than you because they're lucky. Ego is really powerful, but your ego protects you from feeling bad. So if I tell everybody, my ego knows I've told everybody, my ego's going to be like, you need to get this done.
Yeah.
And it takes discipline and focus over a long period of time. The harder the goal, the more discipline and focus and effort it's going to take, and probably the longer length of time, right? So it's easy to go off track, but if you've told everybody, you're going to look like an idiot, and your ego will do everything to stop you looking stupid or stop you being long. So you're kind of tricking yourself into doing it and following through with it. If you keep your goals to yourself, you can change them anytime you feel like it.
You can move the goalpost to suit you.
Of course you can. Depending on how you feel. We're all human. We all have weak moments. Like, let's just use the sugar as an example. Like, there was moments I'd have, this time last year, I actually remember it. I went to the exact same holidays I'm going tomorrow with my children. And I remember they had ice cream and I wanted to smell the ice cream and smelled. I was like, I couldn't eat it.
What a weirdo, sniffing ice cream.
No, it was the sugar. I was just so addicted to the sugar that everything in my body's like, we need to do this. And if I hadn't told everybody, I actually remember my wife saying to me, just do it, no one will know. And I'm like, I'll know. I'll know. Because we're in Gran Canaria and she's like, just have some ice cream, please. And she got really upset at me and really triggered. She's like, leave the kids alone. I was like, well, they're buying pastries. I'm smelling the bag. Like, oh my God, sugar. But again, I told everybody and opened my mouth. And I think once you open your mouth to enough people, you have to be willing to back it up. Or don't open your mouth at all. So again, setting goals, it helps me voicing it. And even if I don't hit the goals in the time frames, if people see me making effort, I'm still respected. So my ego doesn't get bruised, right? So I think tell everybody, tell your coach 100%. You need to be brave to tell everybody because you have to be willing to back it up. Or you'll look really stupid. And then no one will believe anything you say again.
You lose reputation, isn't it? As your part is tied to your reputation, and you lose accountability and credibility as well.
Yeah, everybody. If someone's always saying, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to lose weight, and they don't, people become immune to them saying it. They roll their eyes when they say it. They do. But confidence is trust, and trust comes for people backing up and following through with things. So it just anybody in jail. Like if I was to tell my kids I was coming off sugar and then not do it, can I trust with my kids having what I say? But if my kids know his word's his bond, or the people around me know my word's my bond, whether it's for me, for someone else, then people trust. And if I say something's going to get done, they believe it straight away. But that also gives you confidence because you know if you say something, I call it promises rather than goals now. If you promise yourself something and you get it, you start to trust yourself more. And if you trust yourself more, you have more confidence.
Yeah. You use a good analogy about filling your own cup when you follow through in the promises that you've made yourself, and I think that are so true. I think there's a big problem if you don't trust yourself first. You can't expect anyone else to trust you if you don't trust yourself. So you have to kind of fill your own cup and then go external. I think another thing that's talked about a lot with mindset, a very kind of common couple of words that get put together a lot is growth mindset. We hear about that a lot in sales. That's talked about a lot in sales. How do you feel like a growth mindset influences your sales career and everything you can achieve in the sales industry? A good point to start is, what does growth mindset mean? What would you say is the definition?
You're always looking to evolve
mindset?
And you're always looking to get better. I just don't think I don't think sales is the kind of industry you should be in if you're not looking to get better and looking to improve, because it's an industry where you should be pushed all the time, an industry where records should be broken all the time, and the next generation should accomplish more than the generation before, and so on and so forth. So I think the industry, it's like if you don't want to get physically, like if you don't want to get fitter and harder, don't join the forces. And it just doesn't. So a growth mindset is just, to me anyways, a growth mindset is someone who's always looking to evolve and develop and become a little bit better. I even think in sales, I think if you don't have a growth mindset in anything, you just become stagnant. And if you become stagnant long enough, gravity will kick in, and whatever it is you're doing will end up going backwards. So you'll actually get worse, if that makes any sense. But I think it's just human nature to want to grow. So when you don't want to get better and you don't want to grow, you're actually going against your human nature. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going against sorry, I'll get into biohacking here in biology, but in psychology. But
the word of the day today,
I know. I keep using it loads because I'm big into it, and I'm trying to talk about this stuff, and it keeps thinking biohacking's tricking your body into doing things right, tricking your body to get energy and etc. But when you're growing, there's a good book called The Comfort Crisis, right? And it talks about there's a crisis with humanity because we're really comfortable. We weren't built to be comfortable. We were built to be under pressure and grow and evolve, and that's how, if you go back 2,000 years ago to now, things are better.
Yeah.
So we're at our best when we're growing. And we feel the best. Think about it. Everybody who goes to the gym never ever leaves the gym depressed. They can go in depressed but come out excited. I hate it. It was horrible, but I feel good.
Yeah.
You feel good because you're pushing yourself and you're growing, even though you're going through pain, and your body's thankful that you're growing, and that's when it gives you good energy, endorphins and stuff. So growth mindset, I think, is the need or the want to be better all the time. How does it contribute towards sales? Well, if you're in sales, you're probably in sales because you're competitive. You're probably in sales because you want to improve, or more than likely, you're in sales because you want to make more money. So if you don't have a growth mindset, how are you going to grow? And if you don't grow, how do you make more money?
I don't know who you quote when you say this, but I think it's really true in terms of growth mindset. If you are the same person on your birthday as you were last year, you've lost a year.
Ed Milet.
Yeah, I think that's
one of my
such
heroes.
a good way to kind of look at it and be like, and that's a good time to take stock of the last year of your life and reevaluate. Lots of people do it New Year's and all that sort of stuff, but I think it is important to stop and take stock of how have I developed and how have I come on. And I also think, especially in sales, we see people come in, they've not had the greatest day. Maybe they've been here for 2 weeks and they wanted to go from doing 1 sale to doing 5 sales a day or whatever, and they get really frustrated with themselves. But I think growth can come in so many different ways. It might not necessarily be that kind of final jump of like 1 sale turning into 2 to turning into 3, but it might be, have you spoken to more people? Did you get more people interested? So I think it's also, what tips would you have for looking at the small wins that do contribute to that overall growth?
I ran a team meeting on this morning, and the value that doing sales brings out with the actual sales itself and measuring. So looking at yourself like you're a stock, like you got a trade price, and stock goes up based on how valuable people think. If the company seems more valuable and adds more value to the world, it's more expensive stock if it devalues. So looking at yourself like that. And I think you can measure loads of things like your ability to problem solve, your time. I'm not going to say how well you use your time, not so much time management. I suppose that's part of it. Yeah. You might have just worked harder that day. Maybe you spoke to, the Americans call it a prospect. We just call it people. Maybe you just seen one more. There's loads of wee things. Did you keep your attitude full? I used to time when I lost my attitude. I used to literally write down when I lost it and when my mind started to go a little bit wonky and stop believing, because then I'd set a goal to keep it the next day. Like an example, so if I lost it at 3 o'clock, my goal the next day would be keep it to 4. Yeah. So that little small achievable goal and that little small win showed me that I was getting better. I might not have done more sales, I might not have made more money, the results might not have been better, but I was getting better. I used to have drilled in, you can't manage what you don't measure. I used to measure everything. My work ethic, so if you're someone who calls in sales or you're someone who goes business to business or residential, did you move faster that day? Were you more time efficient that day? Did you deal with a problem better than you dealt with it that day? Were you a little bit more resilient to the weather if you work outside? Did you feel a wee bit better when you got that harsh rejection? So there's so many little things that you can gauge success on. Progression, not perfection. So a lot of people that are involved with sales are very self-critical because they want to be better. So growth mindset is also very bad for people. I'll explain why. Most people that have a growth mindset are people who want to be better all the time and hold themselves to high standards, which means they get frustrated at themselves relatively quickly. The biggest problem I have with high achievers that I coach in all different capacities, whether it be ground level salespeople who are newer, people that are managing large sales teams, is I have to teach them to look for the small wins. I have to teach them to give themselves the credit with the growth, because again, you might not be getting better results, but that doesn't mean you're not getting closer to the better results. But if you're just basing it on one thing, and am I making more money or am I doing more sales, then you're you're going to be upset a lot and you're going to be frustrated a lot. And I'm actually describing how I was when I started. Nothing was ever good enough. And it's really funny, actually. I talked to someone the other day and they're like, it's just not good enough. And I'm like, do you know what? It'll never be good enough. That's just how people like us are built.
Yeah.
When is it ever going to be good enough? When are we ever going to be happy? Really grateful. Another quote for Ed Milex, live in a state in dissatisfied bliss, right?
Yeah.
So dissatisfied bliss just means that I'm happy and I'm grateful for what I've got, but I'm not satisfied to any degree.
So I think when we've been talking about mindset, a lot of a word that came up quite a bit, especially at the start, was attitude. That your mindset is definitely your attitude. So how can a sales professional cultivate a good attitude or a positive attitude or a winning what sort of attitude should you be aiming to have, and how do you cultivate that?
A winning attitude, I would say. A lot of people mistake attitude for positivity, for happiness, for enthusiasm, for excitement. Most of the time, there's a book called Relentless, and it's written by a guy called Tim Grosvenor, who's unbelievable, who trained Michael Jordan, right, and a lot of other great athletes. Yep. And it really made me happy when I read it. It's quite funny because you read the first 12 pages and I'm laughing on the plane with my wife and I'm giggling, and she, what are you giggling at? I'm like, this book's just talking about me, like it's just really funny. And then it gets to the end of a chapter and he says, if you've been giggling the whole time, this is you. And I'm like, this is so cool, right? But one of the things that really was me and I realised was I'm angry a lot of the time. Yeah. I'm frustrated a lot. It's because I'm smiling doesn't mean I'm not internally upset. And he says in the book, and I quote, most of the best athletes on the planet, 90% of the time, are playing in a state of controlled anger. And so they're never, do you know what I mean? Like they're angry. Yeah. They're really upset and angry, but they're playing that way because they're angry because they never got the shot, or they're angry because they never won it, or they won by more points, etc. So you don't have to be happy to be positive, which is my point. You don't have to be enthusiastic. But they got there with this, I think it's Kobe Bryant calls it the killer instinct. I think that's the mindset. You have to be do or die. Yeah. I think who dares wins, the SAS use. And I think that winning mentality, play at the final whistle. There's loads of wee things we can say about it, but that playing in a state of controlled anger, I'm like, it's not, because a lot of people think having a good positive attitude is, yay, I'm so excited and I'm so enthusiastic.
High-fiving everyone.
High five. And how was your day? It was a learning day and I learned loads of stuff and it's all right.
But I had lots of fun.
Yeah, it's a learning day, so is every day. But I just, and it's a shame because it's just how we are. So I think there's a big difference between enthusiasm and positive attitude. What's interesting, I think it was Kobe. Left saying it like I know him, but Kobe Bryant, I think it was an interview with him. I'm not a big basketball fan, but I watched an interview with him and they were talking about pre-game, things they do pre-game to get themselves in the zone. And he's like, I have my earphones in, I listen to stuff a lot. And they're like, all right, what do you listen to? And he says, a lot of people think I'm probably listening to some rap music, some, get me going, get me G'd up, da-da-da. Yeah. And what was the movie, he says? You ever seen that? I know you're not a movie buff, you don't watch. Have you seen the movie Halloween?
No.
Where the dude runs about with the mask and kills everybody. There's about 15 movies made at it. There's a theme tune to it, and it's the same. There's a theme tune, and he says he listens to that theme tune for 2 hours before a game.
To get the adrenaline going, type of thing. To
get the killer instinct.
Yeah.
He's like, it's dark and it's dingy and it puts me in a dark place, but that's how I have to get in the game because I need to win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that having a win, getting yourself in a cultivating and you got to find a way of getting yourself just before you even start in a winning mentality and in the optimal zone for you. Now, for some people that might be happy and excited. Some other people that might be ready to die for the cause or getting that killer instinct. But I think an attitude ultimately has to be the attitude of if I'm going to play a game, I'm playing to win. Life doesn't reward you for waking up in the morning. It doesn't. It rewards results, and that's just the harsh reality of life. So, I think you've got. But again, I think that's a life thing. I think you get up in the morning, you're going to do your day anyway. So you can win the day, lose the day, let the day control you, or you can control the day. So I think your attitude is just getting up or when you're going to participate, especially in sales, as you're going to try and hit your best potential every day. All the great athletes try and break their own records every game. Yeah. That's what makes them the best. That's what makes them the 1%. So it's not turning up and doing what's expected. It's turning up and doing what's possible. So if I'm capable of doing, let's just say, for instance, I'm a salesperson who can sign up 5 customers in a day, whether I sell cars or insurance or anything, fluffy ducks, who knows? If I know that's possible for me, then that has to be the standard I hold myself. And we're going down a rabbit hole of standards, but my attitude has to be, how do I get myself in the zone so that I hit that and try and beat it every single day?
100%. I think how exactly said what you said there, how you approach things. I think I would always have a lot more respect for someone who, you know, if they were on the phones, for example, and they were doing sales on the phone, I would have a lot more respect for the person if they did 2 sales that day but dialed to the last second and they were never not on the phone trying to get in touch with someone, as opposed to the person that did 5 but stopped halfway through the day because they thought, oh, I've done 5, so
that's not a good attitude.
And I think it's that person that will, you know, go to the final second and kind of really push themselves. Those are the people that you want in your sales team or that you want in your office, because those are the people that will always want to get better.
Yep.
Not the people, you know, you think you'd want that person who does 5 with ease and could be done halfway through the day and thinks that's it. Day's done, but that's not the person you want. That's not the person you want to go to war with. That's
just funny. I was going to say that. It's the saying, right? Who you got to go to war with? The one that gets comfortable, the one that's willing to die for the cause.
I've spent too much time with you. I knew that's what you were going.
Give me the guy or gal who's willing to die for their cause.
Yeah.
I love working with those people. I really, really love. That's why I've always loved sales. You come across these people that are just so focused, so goal driven, are willing to run themselves into the ground for success or the win or the money or whatever, and it's just, the people are great to work with. They're just so much fun. Like, yeah, and you surround yourself with people with a good winning mentality. Again, you don't have to be positive and excited. No one wakes up excited and happy every day, but it doesn't mean you can't have a positive attitude, and it can't mean that you're not waking up trying to give it everything and do your best.
So we've got a positive or winning attitude, I should say. We're ready to kind of give the day everything that we've got every single day. But we all have people around us, especially loved ones around us, who maybe don't have the same perspective as you, or maybe don't have the same viewpoint as you. And I think we kind of covered this briefly last time, the stigma that sales have, or the stigma that the sales industry has.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the times that people say, I'm going in sales, I've got this job in sales, a lot of times it is met with negativity from other people. And it is met with, really? Why do you want to do that? Or just not an overwhelmingly positive response. So how do you kind of keep yourself in the zone, and how do you keep yourself, you know, with that edge and with that bite to you when there might not be people around you that help you stay in that zone?
It might be quite controversial, but stop caring so much about what other people think. Why do you, if they're not going to pay my bills, and they're not going to pay for my kids' future, and they're not going to put food on my table, why would I care what they thought? It's the same reaction, right? It's not, I'm going to compare it because we keep talking about people's perception in sales. Like, if somebody says they're ever going to do something which is deemed as hard, people's reaction's never nice. The kid that tells his mum and dad they want to be an astronaut or a pilot or want to be a surgeon, for the most part, will probably get told, why would you want to do that? That's difficult. Right? The person who says, I'm going to go open up my own business, they'll get told, because there's a chance of failure one. Here's the other thing. I think people's egos get really challenged when someone's going to try and accomplish more than they're going to accomplish, and they get triggered. I think a lot of people, because it belittles you, right? Because if you're going to go try and accomplish something and take a risk and win big, and you actually go and win big, then that makes everybody else who's telling you wrong look a little bit silly. People get quite triggered by success. You see successful people become successful, and I'm not talking about me, but people become quite envious and bitter. If your friends and family that actually care about you are telling you not to do something, they're just doing their job and try to stop you feeling any pain, which is fine. But again, I just think, and I always have thought, to my own detriment, a lot in my life, if I was maybe 13, 14 years old, I actually didn't care what anybody thought about anything I wanted to do. I joined the parachute regiment when I was a kid. I get told I was stupid, I get told it was hard, I get told I was too short and fat, but I didn't listen. My life would be completely different if I listened to people around me, and I'd never get upset at anybody around me, because that's just them. If I'm offending you and hurting your ego by me working harder than you, like my sister used to get upset because I worked hard. She'd get upset at me and give me lectures because I worked 16-hour days. My brothers would wind me up and tell me I'm stupid and why am I working all these hours, and it's just, you know, it's nuts. I actually met one of my brothers the other day and he's like, man, I finish at 11 o'clock. If I say, this was at 9 o'clock in the morning, he'd been working for 2 hours, and I'm like, if it makes you feel any better, I'm finishing at 11 o'clock tonight. And he's like, you're still doing all those hours. So their views are views. I don't get upset when anybody's telling me not to do stuff or negative against stuff, but I've got friends and family that do jobs that I would never do. Never. One, some of them seem horrible. Two, some of them seem really unrewarding. And, you know, I've got friends and family that work in police force, really heavy job. You know, if the people are under way more pressure than me, I think, you know, I'm not saying I wouldn't do that job, but it's not, you know, they put under a lot of pressure, put their lives on the line all the time. Firemen, fire ladies, doctors, nurses. I think a lot of people do. And a lot of things that are worth doing come with a wee bit of negativity and then come with a wee bit of pressure. So there's things I look at people and go, I wouldn't do your job for all the money in the world. But it doesn't mean it's a bad job. To them, it's the best job in the world. True. So just because someone else thinks that sales is a bad job doesn't mean it's bad for you. It just means it's bad for them. Just the same as somebody might not like the jacket you're wearing. It doesn't mean it's not a nice jacket. It just means for them. And I don't defend my view and why I think, and I don't try and sell my ideas of why I think something's good to anybody. Not that I judge anybody else. Like, you know, with this wee thing in the office, you'll know what you do, you. I say that to my own kids. I'm like, you do you. I actually tell my children that my opinion doesn't matter that much. And it's not me being indifferent. My kids sometimes think it's me getting an out for making a decision. What do you think of how I'm dressed? I'm like, are you comfortable in it? Do you think you look nice? And I'm trying drilling at my kid. I'm like, who cares about your dad's opinion? See, there's certain things where my opinion's the opinion that matters, right? But when it comes to how you dress and how you sound and how you look and what job you want to do, what business of mine is it?
Yeah, true.
I think that's a nice way of parenting, because if I'm drilling into my kids that they should think for themselves and they should stick to their own guns and they should do things they're excited about, but then I give strong opinions on other decisions, I'm actually contradicting myself. Unfortunately, most of us haven't been raised like that, so we have an opinion and it's quite strong and we give our 2 cents worth quite quickly. My wife always says in social circles I'm quite quiet, whereas in work I'm quite noisy. And I always say it's because I know that a lot of people won't like my opinion, so I just keep my opinions to myself. And especially when someone's got a strong opinion in something, I have an opposing one, I don't bring it up. I'm like, you know what, you have your strong opinion. And if that's how they feel about something, that's entirely up to them. So people are quick to oppose their opinion in people. They don't mean to be bad. It doesn't mean your thought process is bad or what you're doing is wrong for the some part. It's just people that care and don't want to see you get hurt and maybe think you're doing a mistake. For the other part, maybe they're jealous you're trying to accomplish a wee bit more than them, like your mates and stuff. If my mates got offended that I was trying to better myself, my friends, and I don't know if anyone will see this, but I grew up in not the nicest neighbourhood, and when I kept saying that I wanted to make enough money to move out, people got offended. What's wrong with where we stay? Why do you want to move out? Do you think you're better? I'm like, because I want better doesn't mean I think I'm better. I just, you know, there's nicer places to stay. There's nicer cars to drive. There's nicer holidays to go on. I'd like not to eat in McDonald's. I'd like to be able to go to a restaurant and actually buy a meal and afford it. I'd like not to eat Greg's, right? And all these things that we've done. But actually a lot of people fall out of me because of that and really got triggered. So they were telling me not to do it, and looking back now, I'm like, I don't know if I hurt their egos or something just because I was the one that wanted to break away for the group. So, but I'm glad I never listened to anybody. I'll give you my opinion, but ultimately it's what you think that counts.
I also think it's your, again, we've said the word perception quite a bit today. I also think it's your perception of that or your attitude towards that. I love nothing more than people telling me they don't think I should do something or that they don't think I can do it or whatever, because there's nothing like gives me fuel to my fire than someone saying that to me.
True.
So I think it is also, I mean, I like to do it to prove people wrong, which isn't always the best thing, but I also just think it is important because it pushes you. So sometimes having people that aren't necessarily like fully in your corner or not necessarily being like, yeah, go do that and being your biggest cheerleaders, I don't think that's a bad thing, because that is extra fuel to you, that is an extra push for you, and that kind of sometimes can get you over the edge.
Yeah, true, man. Again, a little bit angry at them, controlled frustration or controlled anger, right?
100%. So another word that gets said quite a lot. And I know you're maybe not the biggest fan of this word, but it gets chucked around a lot when we talk about sales.
Curious
it's the word motivation.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really motivated.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always really, really motivated. What are your thoughts on motivation? Go on. Tell us all.
People mistake what motivation is. And they annoy a lot of people here. Because, like, you have to motivate, you know, get fired up and ready to go and all that stuff and all that jazz. And I am sometimes motivated and sometimes the most unmotivated person in the world. If you class motivation as enthusiasm and excitement, sometimes I wake up and I'm like blah, and sometimes I wake up and I'm ready to go. We're hormonal, we're emotional, we have lives, there's variables, there's love, there's weather, there's finances, there's time of year, there's time you get up, there's how well you slept, hydration. There's so many things contribute towards you feeling amazing and motivated.
Those jazz hands.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, you know, I'm excited, I'm motivated, I'm really motivated today.
Yeah.
Nobody wakes up motivated every single day. Nobody. Even the most motivated people in the world have off days once a month, bare minimum. Some of the most, but you don't see that. We've been led to believe that motivation is being excited and enthusiasm, and it's not. And I'll argue with anybody with that.
Yeah.
Because I'll just watch, you take a group of people and watch them all month that are motivated, but watch them 24 hours a day. And so if they're motivated and motivation's excitement, that's how they'll be all the time, which they won't.
Example is January 1st.
Yeah.
Everyone is motivated to change their life
There's
that
a
year
queue at my
and
gym.
do all these ridiculous things that year. And it's going to be the year that everyone changes who they are and goes to the gym and eats healthy and saves all this money. But by end of week 1, that motivation is gone. And I remember you saying this year with the gym, it didn't even last the full week. It was like a day.
No, but now they're all coming back because the light mornings are in.
Yeah.
Very sad. Gym's getting busier again because the sun's up, and I'm like,
We've got the holiday body to
The
go.
only benefit of being wet, cold and dark in the morning is nobody wants to go to their bed and my gym's quiet. So considering not going to that gym for a while just purely because it's getting busy. So there is such a thing as motivation, but to me, my views on motivation is the ability to get yourself to do things you don't feel like doing. That's motivation. That's motivation. Motivation to me is more discipline and focus than it is excitement and enthusiasm. So days I don't feel like going to the gym but go and train hard, that makes me feel like I'm a motivated person. When I wake up, like anybody can do things when they feel good, right? When you feel good, you can do anything you want when you feel good. Humans are great at that. What do you do when you feel bad? That to me is a true indicator of whether someone's a motivated person. And if you rely on motivation, your results in any capacity in any job are going to go up and down. Because if you're relying on motivation to be your key driver, again, if motivation is enthusiasm, excitement in your world, you're not always going to be like that. And even if you are saying you're like that every day, it's false. And people see completely through it.
Yeah.
I just look through people's eyes. So anybody who works with me or a coach, I allow them to be really real. And I'm all right with people feeling bad. I want to see what you do when you feel sick. I want to see what you do when you feel off. I want to see what you do when things aren't good in your life. We'd live in a world of people putting faces on, right? And it's who you are behind closed doors. My director used to say, it's not what you do when people are watching. So there was the director of the company, the first business I worked for, who was one of my coaches and friends. He says, it's not what you do when everybody's watching. What do you do when no one's watching? Like if you were to sneak up and motivated, excited people and follow me a camera when they didn't know, what are you going to see? I know I'm motivated because you'll see the same thing. And I always tell people, even in the gym, I look motivated because I look happy and excited, and people are like, oh, you're having a good time? And I'm like, no, actually, I'm having a horrible time. Do you know what I mean? I'm just having but I always say, because I'm smiling doesn't mean I'm having a good time. I'm going to do it, so I might as well enjoy it and might as well put a smile on my face. But some of your favourite days in the gym, and the days where I think build confidence, or in, let's just say, sales, the two when you don't feel like working that day, the two sales that you do, or the two people you sign up in any sales job, or whatever your standard is, when you get the one when you didn't feel like it, you 10x your confidence because you know you didn't feel like it, and you somehow managed to get yourself still to do it even though you didn't feel good. Again, you get very short-term gratification when you feel good and do stuff. When you go to the gym and you feel good, again, anybody can do it. But when you wake up and that wee voice in your head, or in sales saying, don't get out of your bed, don't go to work, don't do this, and it's raining and it's windy and your body's sore, you've had maybe 2 bad days, but somehow you drag yourself out your bed and somehow you drag the win. That confidence, knowing that you'd done something you didn't feel like doing, that's confidence. So I think people have to focus a lot, because you hear all the time, I just need to learn how to be motivated. I need to be motivated. I need to motivate my team of people. And I'm like, you don't need to motivate your team of people. You maybe have to give your people a reason, then back that up with some focus, stop them getting distracted. And then you just have to instill discipline. You have to have the discipline to still do the things that you're supposed to do to get where you need to go. You don't have to be happy about it. You don't have to be skipping and excited, because, you know, again, sometimes I'm miserable, but I'm on a mission. I don't hate motivation. I just hate there's such a misconception.
False motivation, I think, is what you're not a big fan of.
Enthusiasm and excitement are different.
Yeah.
I just think people need to understand words and meaning.
Redefine the word, maybe.
So words have meaning and words have weight. You just got to understand words and not mistake it for one thing for the other. So yeah, motivated.
We've established that discipline is a lot more important than motivation.
Yep.
Some tips for staying disciplined?
As human beings, we're very prone to making excuses for not getting things done. And we making decisions quite complex, because if this decision was that simple and I couldn't make that simple decision, then I'm stupid. Yeah. So I just think someone says to me that someone was late, someone that's supposed to be in a senior role was late, and I found out after manager that they were late a lot. Something I don't, let's just say, encourage very well. If you're going to be in charge of other human beings, and I'm like, you can't be late again. You have to be in time, because if you're responsible for other human beings, you have to be there for them, right? You can't not be there. You can't turn up an hour late for your kids at the school. You can't, it's no life. So I'm trying to drill timekeeping into this person and the importance of it. And he says, I'll work on it. And I'm like, there is no working on getting up. You just get up. As soon as we say working on it, we're leaving room for not getting it done.
Well, yeah, but also, as you said, you either get up or you don't get up. How do you try to get up?
You don't. You just get up.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying the decisions are easy. Nobody's saying you're not going to feel some pain, but discipline is forcing yourself to do the things that you need to do. That's just that. Set one alarm. Set one alarm to get up. As soon as you set 3, you're already agreeing with yourself that you're not getting up the first. Yeah, you're already. I learned this trick years ago, and it's been great. Set one alarm, because if you set more than one, you're already accepting that you're not going to have the discipline to get up tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
I seen that in someone else's podcast somewhere, and I'm like, wow, I set 6 alarms every morning, and I was pretty good at getting up. But it's funny, because you set 6 alarms. What one do you think most people get up on?
The 6th one.
The 6, because that's the standard you set.
And they probably snoozed it 4 times.
Of course, because that's what people, just set one for the last time you're setting the 6. If that's the last time you have to get up, why not just set the one for that? Yeah, it's a hard choice versus easy choice, right? It's even someone who's on a diet. You don't have to be special to diet. You just have to have some discipline, and it's difficult. It's really difficult to be disciplined, because we're lazy by nature. Your brain will always choose the path of least resistance. So if there's a lazier way of getting stuff done, you will, and that's that. So it's overriding that human nature of reserving energy and being lazy. That goes back to, again, when I says earlier about making the reward really big. Having discipline not to take the easy route has got to be worth it. So the reward has to be so big that, of course, if someone want to have a 6-pack or Olympic gold, like, it's easy for them not to eat chocolate because it's a big goal. But for someone who's just to get fit, I mean, I'm only getting fat, so I can have a wee bit of chocolate and they lose their discipline relatively quickly. So you got to learn this. So this wasn't something naturally like setting goals. But getting back to the goal thing, I think a lot of what we're talking about stems from that. If the goal's big enough, the attitude will be good enough, the discipline will be there, the focus will be there, and so yeah. I think you just choose. So you get loads of wee times in the day where you have to choose to be there. Every time you go eat, I've seen something years ago about eating, and it says, are you eating for leisure or are you eating for fuel?
Yeah.
And every time I go eat, I'm like, and sometimes I eat a key in and I lose discipline sometimes, and I eat for leisure. And I'm like, I accept it though. I'm just like, I'm eating purely for leisure. This is not nutritional. It's not good, but yeah, people lose their discipline, right? And it's fine. It's all right. It's really hard to be disciplined in anything. It's really, really hard.
And I think, again, it's so funny how all these things are so interlinked, but it's like what we said earlier, it's also trust in yourself. If you get up on the first alarm or your only alarm every single day, you'll trust yourself more. And just like we said earlier, you'll believe in yourself more, and you'll have a better relationship with yourself and who you are. And you're already starting the day. And I heard you say this to someone before, you start the day on a win.
Yep.
If you set an alarm and you go to snooze it or whatever, you've lost the day already.
Yep.
You've started your day on the back foot.
Yep. It's the first decision you make when you open your eyes. So if your first decision's a bad decision, you've got to live with that decision the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's again, I seen that in a podcast somewhere and it caught me. I'm like, whoa, that's deep. And I'm like, so right. Don't get me wrong, when I got up in the first alarm, I had like 6 hours sleep a night. When I got up in the first alarm, I hate myself for 5 minutes. My body hates myself for 5 minutes.
Go back to bed. You'll have more fun.
Everything, my brain, my body, everything hates me for not getting back to sleep. I don't feel great. But I'm always glad I made the decision when I have a good day. And I'm like, I'm glad I got up early and I'm glad I went to the gym. Even this morning, I didn't feel like going to the gym. I told you that earlier. And I'm glad I did, because I just had to have the discipline. It was for different reasons. I wasn't lazy, I was busy. But again, I had to have a conversation with myself. But yeah, getting up on your first alarm, I'm not saying you wake up and you'll be happy instantaneously. Don't think because you got up your first alarm, you're going to have all this energy. You probably hate yourself when you go back to bed.
Jump out of bed and go, ta-da!
Nah, and if you're like me and you've got an iPhone, because you go for deep sleep, hopefully beautiful dreams, and you wake up with a bang. So your body is actually still asleep. So by the time you get to the phone, you're actually still sleeping, but you're awake, and that's where the headaches come from, and that's why you want to go back to bed, because most days, unless you get one of these sun lamps or wake up naturally, you wake up with So it is difficult. But again, try that wee one again, and it gives you the confidence to make other good decisions, because that, for me, is probably the hardest decision you'll make in the day, which is get out of that big, comfortable, lovely bed in the dark mornings, not when the sun's up.
So I think we've danced around the subject enough, and we've mentioned it in probably everything that we've discussed so far. So probably time now just to talk about goals and the importance of goals, and also setting goals. And I think it's, when I first came into sales, I didn't know how to set a goal that was ambitious but also achievable. And it's finding that kind of middle ground. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of all things goals, but how important, firstly, are not just that end goal, but breaking it down into a weekly goal, a monthly goal, a quarterly goal, a yearly goal, a 5-year goal. Is it important to break them all down and have all these kind of, I guess, milestone goals towards the big goal?
I used to break it down to hourly when I was doing my first sales job, literally hourly. The more times, so let's go back to confidence. This is why hourly.
Yeah.
One, I can manage things, right? As much, if you think about, if I'm trying to accomplish something in a day versus accomplish something for an hour, I've way more confidence I accomplish something in an hour. So you're minimising what your brain thinks the cost is. So I'm like, if I just do it, I can do anything for an hour is what I tell myself all the time, right? But the more times you say you're going to do something and you do it, the higher your confidence goes. So if you just set weekly goals, right? But I set daily goals. I've got 7 chances of feeling good, you've got 1 chance of feeling good. So if I feel good 7 times, my confidence will grow at a much faster rate than your confidence will grow. So I think goals are telling yourself you're going to do something and doing it. They're confidence building. Not setting goals is like running a race with no finish line. You know, what do you train for? What shoes do you wear? Like, when do you stop running?
What's the reason?
When do you go fast? Like, it's just like, come back to they can't manage what you don't measure. So if you don't have an end goal, how are you supposed to measure the things that you're doing back? It's called reverse engineering. So if I set a target, then reverse engineer how I'm going to do it, which is like set a result and then create actions. If you think about any consultant you go to, if you use an agency for your business, if you use a personal trainer, what's the first thing they ask you? What are you looking to get out of this? What's the goal? because they can only give you a plan if they know what the desired outcome is.
Yeah.
So, like, it's again the importance of having goals. You can do hourly, you can do weekly. Some people do 12 weekly. I think for me, they've got to be achievable. There's this thing called flow state. So you were talking about, I think you say something about the goal not being too big and it has to be achievable.
Ambitious yet achievable.
Great. So there's a thing called flow state, and again, maybe next time we get a wee whiteboard or a smart board, and we'll draw some things for people in illustrations.
We're getting fancy. Episode 3.
Flow state is flow state is in the zone, right? And so keep yourself in a flow state as if my skill level's here. I'm always trying to accomplish here. Too much is too stressful. Below gets lazy. Just there is complacency and consistent, which eventually gravity kicks in. So again, skill level, goal. So the goal I've got to achieve is enough just above my skill level, so I've got to push myself, but not enough where I stress myself out.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So just try to get a little bit better. I mean, let's just do a mathematical equation. If I get 1% better, let's just say a week. Just say a week, not a day. That means in 100 weeks I'll be twice as good. That's 2 years. So if I'm in a job, just now in any job, sales, anything, and I'm like, I want to be twice as good. It's easy. Just get 1% better every week. You just got to figure out what the 1% is, right?
Yeah.
So again, you've got to go, this is where I want to go. This is what it looks like in the end result. All right, how do I break that down into small, achievable goals? And you just do them in order. You just do them in order of either relevance, or you do them in order of importance. Important, getting good at it, that accomplishing that time. So setting the big long-term purpose and then breaking it down into 5 years, year. To be fair, but when I started in my sales career and I learned about goals. I was always given targets and told what to do. I was never asked to sit down and think about goals. I couldn't do yearly goals. I couldn't do a 5-year plan. My brain just never thought that far in front. So that's why I probably done hourly, because it was I can think about what I'm doing for the next hour.
And I also think I guess when you break it down to hourly, it's also good for course correction. Because if you...
It's a great way of describing it. Course correction.
I'm great at describing things clearly.
I should be asking the questions. You should be answering them. Course correction.
That'll be our most speed episode. So I think like if your goal is, I don't know, you want to do 5 sales that day, if you can see, okay, that means each hour I need to speak to X amount of customers. Let's just say. So we know at the end of hour 1, how are we on the right path? Are we on track? As opposed to getting to the last hour and be like, I've not got any and I need to get 5 in this last hour. It's doable, don't get me wrong, but it's you're not tracking it. And I think that's really, really important to make sure that the smaller goals keep you on track to the bigger goals and help you be like, okay, do I need to readjust? Am I doing good? And if you're doing good, then it's great for your confidence, because you're like, perfect, I can do this.
I'm perfect.
But if not, it gives you that chance to fix it so you can still achieve the kind of final goal.
Yeah, I like course correction. I call it gauging where you're at. Tracking your numbers, kind of gauging if you're on the right track. I call it health checks also. It's a wee health check and checking in to make sure I'm on the right. But I like the course correction. I think I'll incorporate that into what I'm doing now. No, you're right. Again, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah, 100%.
If you don't measure your goals and like you're saying and do that, then how are you supposed to manage it? And before you know it, again, when you talk course correction and you're on a ship, if you don't check your course, it doesn't take very long for you to be 50 miles away from where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, true.
I mean, go Google people that lost their course in boats, and how many people got lost in the world in the middle of the sea. And actually watched a movie about that a couple of weeks ago. They went slightly a certain degrees, and before they didn't check, and before they knew it, they were hundreds of miles away from where they're supposed to be.
They were aiming for Barcelona and ended up in Australia, is what you're saying.
But didn't realise they were ending up in Australia until they were at Australia.
Yeah.
So right,
This doesn't look Spanish. So to counter that, and on the flip and on the, I guess, the opposing side to that, what about when, because in some instances it all kind of comes together in the last minute, and I think a perfect example is, we spoke in the last episode, you've got a health coach and you've had some goals, and you had a big goal for when you had a specific trip earlier this year. And I'm sure, was it not like the day before you flew or you were supposed to fly, you hit the weight goal that you were looking for? It was literally down to
weight and body fat.
Within a day or a week of a day or whatever of when the goal was. But I remember a week before you saying that you had this amount to lose, and you're like, but I'll do it. So what about when the opposite is the case, when you just have to be like, I know it will fall into place? So how do you stay on track with that then? And how do you kind of stay focused when sometimes it seems like you're not quite there?
Stupid belief.
Okay.
Stupid belief. It doesn't, again, go back to don't say it if you're not willing to do what it takes. Like, so we're talking about the weight. I've actually got a message. I'll not bring it out. You know, if anybody wants to see it, they can ask for it. That I sent my health coach 2 weeks before it. It wasn't on track.
I remember you saying to me.
It wasn't. Nothing was moving.
For a while it had moved.
My weight was stagnant. My body fat was stagnant. My endurance was that nothing was moving, and I get really frustrated. None of the numbers were moving. And I sent him a message. I says, I don't care if I have to fast for 14 days. I don't care if I have to do 3 hours of cardio every day. Just tell me what I need to do, because I can't not hit that goal. Because I told everybody I'd hit the goal, and I was obsessed about the goal, and hitting that goal on that day meant everything to me. And I suppose one stupid belief, you're going to hit it, but sometimes you lose a stupid belief like I did. But then when you lose a stupid belief, you got to figure out if you do have to change your course. You have to be willing to change whatever course you have, and willing to do whatever it takes to still get it. Even 2 days before it, I legit, so what most people don't know is 2 days before it, I dehydrated myself. There was loads of things we done to hit it. There was loads of wee things we done behind the scenes, like supplements I take, sleep, loading in water, deloading in water, like having power naps during the day, which I miss. I need them back, which was for recovery, because we realised my body wasn't recovering. So along the way, he'd done little tweaks, but there's plenty of times where I've been really frustrated with lack of progress as such. And sometimes there's a thing on Instagram you're seeing, it's the guys digging for gold and one walking away in a mood, and the other guy just being like another pickaxe throw away for all the gold in the world. And so you just, stupid belief that you're going to get there. And I suppose the willingness to do whatever it takes to get there. So you say result in actions. Sometimes I've maybe chosen the wrong actions. Sometimes the plan's not the best plan, and you don't realise that till later on. It doesn't mean I change the goal, I just change the action. You get 2 options, right? Change the goal, change the action. Never, ever should you change your goal. Yeah. Because you're just giving in. It should
mean something to you, so why would you change to what means
something to you? And do you know what? Yeah, if you change the action and do whatever it takes and you still don't have it, the one thing you all have is pride, knowing you never gave in. Again, let's go back to this confidence thing. Give it everything. If I give it everything and don't hit the goal, what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But if I didn't give it everything, I know I never gave it everything. So when I start telling people why I never hit the goal, I know I'm lying. Therefore, I'm losing trust with myself. Then the next time I say I'm going to hit a goal, the little voice in my head will say, well, you probably won't, because you know you'll quit.
Yeah.
So I don't have the same confidence. On the flip side of that, every time you hit a goal, your confidence in, if I want something done, it gets done. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. For that self-belief for you, not anybody else. Knowing when you say a thing's done, it's done. It's not a question anymore of whether you do it or not. Maybe a question of when it gets done, how long it takes, because you can't always control everything. I'd break my word with other people long before I broke the word to myself. How I feel is way more important about how other people feel about me.
Better spend your whole life with you.
Yeah, I can't escape that. I can't go a walk for myself, can you? Do you know what I mean? You can't take myself out the room for myself.
A break from this
do you know
guy.
what? That's actually that's a good point. If other people upset at me, they can avoid me, but I can't. I got to look myself in the mirror every day, right? And yeah. So goals to me are promises to yourself. I've learned that. Like I learned it was more deep. I say promise because a promise is more meaningful and more deep. My goal's a piece of paper and I write down. So if I promise myself something, I have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Or I should never have promised myself in the first place, because I'm only letting myself down.
Yeah. Goal setting 101. How do I do it? How do I set a goal?
I'll give you the simplest form of setting goals: results and actions.
Yeah.
Figure out what result you're looking for and what actions you have to take to get there. You'll hear things about SMART goals, which are smart, measurable, achievable, realistic and timed. There's loads of wee formulas you can get online. And I used to think goals have to be this elaborate 12-page business plan. And I see people that like doing that, and they might like making their goals look really fancy and whatever. But, you know, I think the easiest way is just say you're going to do something and figure out what actions you have to take to do it. And they don't have to be fancy. It just has to be. I mean, I've got like my life goals wrote down in my, sorry, tell them 65 wrote down in my notes in my iPhone. It's probably about this size. It's just, I want to accomplish this, and this. What do you know, how am I going to accomplish it? Do this, and this. All right, what will stop me? I actually wrote death because I didn't think that's how obsessed I get with goals. Is I actually wrote it myself sitting in a plane, and I wrote all these goals that if I show other people, they'll be like, that's a bit stupid, that's a bit unachievable, right? I love a plane because you get time to think for yourself, because I enjoy thinking. And that's actually when I said, again, space, 5 hours in a plane, not a hill. As long as there's no children kicking about, you get brain space. But I actually wrote that down, and that's how much I believe in stuff I'm writing. Other people would look and say their goals seem stupid. Yeah. But to me, that's what gets me excited. And then when I wrote what would stop me, because I always have to think what could hold me back, what obstacles are going to come in my way. And I'll not arrogantly, I just wrote death. Because I'm either going to die trying or I'm going to hit them. There's only two things that happen. I'll either, if I don't hit them in time and I die, no problem, I'll accept that. But 50 Cent actually get rich or die trying. I really like that line, although I hate saying it because and it's not about getting rich. I don't mean that. It's just why not die? Yeah. I'm going to die trying. So I'm going to go for it.
That's what you want, commit and really commit.
Yeah, just go for it. And if you get it, great. But if you don't get it and don't hit it, but very seldom will somebody get obsessed and willing to do whatever it takes and not get what they want.
Yeah.
They'll eventually get it. That person always gets what they want. Everybody's got a mate like that. Everybody's got a mate that always ended up getting what they wanted. They always got their own way, and it's just because they were persistent, obsessive, and they believed in themselves. Yeah. It wasn't because of them. I'm not about spoiled kids. I'm obsessed, like an addict. You got to get. I suppose there's no way I describe it as getting addicted to it. Getting addicted to success, or addicted to one, or addicted to your goals. Because when you're addicted to something, you do whatever it takes to get it.
I think it is actually quite easy to do that though, because I think it is a very addictive feeling, that rush that you get when you've done something that you said you would do. Or I think it is a feeling that isn't quite like anything else.
I'm going to sound really cheesy. So high in life. So high in winning, but even silly things, right? So we get home with my wife, and I always set goals, and she'll say what time we're going to get home at, and I'll tell her to the minute. She winds me up because I'll go, I'll check traffic, and I'll go, okay, 1:52. It's just go 1:52, not 1:50, and not 2 o'clock, and I'm like 1:52. I then make it my personal mission to get in the driveway at 1:52, either driving slow or fast, whatever I have to do. Just so that when it's 1:52 and I stop, I can smile and say, told you. Yeah. And the kick you get out of being right, like you're saying, the endorphins, even silly things like that, you get a kick, right? You get dopamine, and that's... Well, dopamine junkies, you don't have to learn to become addicted to feeling good. You're already addicted. We're talking about legally and illegally. Some people do it illegally or legally with alcohol, or illegally with drugs, right? And then that. But I'm not saying don't drink or anything. I'm not preaching that to anybody, but I think you can also get good dopamine feeds for saying you're going to do something and actually doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's such a psychological thing. This is going to make me sound so sad, but sometimes if I do lack motivation or whatever it may be at times, I'll set a list, and I'll set some things that I want to achieve, whether that's, over a weekend or whatever it is, or over an evening once I get home, things that I know I would do anyway. And things that I know I would get done anyway, but the simple fact that I can tick it off this list and I've done something that I said I would do, it's all false. It's all stuff that I would have done whether they were on the list or not. But just that small action of being like, okay, I've done that, I've achieved that. Yep. It is a way to, I guess, kind of falsely generate that, which then becomes authentic then. Yeah. So I think you can kind of also kickstart that and kind of give yourself a push off when you are kind of lacking any form of motivation. So we know how to set a goal, result, action. Mm-hmm. How important is a professional goal and a personal goal, and how linked should they be? How intertwined should they be?
Your professional goal should be the action to your personal goal, because your personal goal is going to be lifestyle, family. We always say that you work to create a life, right? You have to create a life for yourself. Like, everybody's living the life they created. You create a life for yourself. Your parents create a life for you, and then at some point you go yourself and you have to create this big life. So, you know, your life personal goal should be the outcome, and your professional goal should be the action to help you accomplish that outcome. It might be freedom to spend time with family. It might be fortune. It might be whatever. But I have to create a life for myself, and so I think my professional goals are, because I hear people say, like, I want to be a manager and I want to do loads of this and all that, but why? And like, just because. And I'm like, the name badge and the title is only going to get you excited for so long, but what does it mean to you? Why do you want to work long hours? Why do you want to make that amount of money? What are you going to do with it? Why do you want your time back? What are you going to do with your time? And it makes people really think about stuff. You know, what do you do? I wanted to create a life where I had time and money, because one without the other's bad. Not bad, that's wrong. One without the other isn't as much fun. So if I've got all the time in the world but not a lot of money, it's not as fun as having time and money. If I have all the money but no time, it's half as fun as it. So for me, I wanted to create a life where I could be free financially, but also free of constraints, having to be anywhere at a certain time, right? I'm trying to build a life, and you know, the life I have now was the life that I was thinking about 10 years ago, and the life 10 years ago was 10 years before, and so on. Now I'm starting to think about what my life will look like in my late 50s and 60s, because all the stuff I do just now are going to create that life. So all the goals I have just now are geared towards me having that life then, but it's personal. None of my goals are business. They are business, but the businesses orientated goals are things I have to accomplish to create the lifestyle that I want, that freedom and finances and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they're both important, because you need both. You need drive in both. I think the personal stuff we spoke about earlier is just a lot more meaningful, because you want to love your life, and I think if you love something, or you're working for something that you love, you'll do more for it than something you don't. You do more for somebody you loved than somebody you didn't. So if I'm in love with my goals, which would only probably be personal, then I'll be willing to do more for my goals. Going back to that obsession thing.
Makes sense. I feel like we've got quite deep today.
Yep.
We talked about quite general in terms of not just sales specific or the sales industry, but it's all quite applicable to life. But we knew that would be, when you talk about kind of mentality and mindset, is they are intertwined. You can't separate that from your life, because it's all one. But let's go back to sales. Let's say you are month 1 in sales. You've just started in sales. What sort of goals should you be setting?
Just skill set goals. It should just be skill and mentality goals. Goals to learn more stuff. Again, I just come in with a daily. I always wanted to leave with more knowledge than I turned up. I always wanted it. My goal was always, when I was new, was to leave the building better than I walked in the morning. So when you're new into anything, I think you should be trying to learn the skill set it takes to be good at the trade. Yeah. So I think you should be setting goals for skill set, you should be setting goals for your mentality, and you should be setting goals for your work ethic, and teach yourself. Because again, more equals more, right? So if you've if you do more sales, you make more money than any sales role. If you speak to more people, you have more opportunities. So I'm always trying to figure out how to do a wee bit more. So I would say that simply, how do I work a little bit harder? Setting goals to work harder, setting goals to have a stronger mentality, keep it stronger and recover quicker, those 3 things. And then setting goals to learn more skills so I can do more sales as well. Because they're the 3 contributing factors to salespeople. Yeah. How much they can push themselves, how good they are with push themselves in time, which is pace, we call it, or work ethic, whatever you want to call it. How high their skill set is, and how good their attitude is.
I think also one goal, that whether you are a week in sales, a month in sales, a year in sales, 20 odd years in sales, I think one goal everyone should always have is that self-development goal. You can always get better. You can always grow.
Yep.
So how do you feel like investing in your own self-development and your own self-growth contributes to your success in sales?
Massively. And anything. Again, we're going to say anything, not generalise it, but we're supposed to just talk about everything sales, right? I think it's really all transferable. I think it's just some of the stuff's quite obvious. I would say common sense, but probably quite uncommon. But we call it taking control, right? Or I was taught it like taking control. I'm not going to wait for other people to develop me. I'm not waiting for someone to decide they're going to run a seminar. I'm not waiting for somebody to decide they're going to educate me in something. Like, take complete control of your education. Again, there's just... Sales is like sport. The higher the skill set, the better the contract and the better the pay you're going to get and the more rewards you're going to get. So, I bet they had to tell Messi to go do keepy-ups. He didn't wait to training and tell him to go kick the ball, right? He was doing it every second he could. So your self-development's key, your ability to self-develop. There's, I just think if you're not developing in something, just any time now, it's just laziness. It costs you nothing. There's a million podcasts. There's on sales. There's a million books on sales. There's a million books on work ethic and attitude and body language and all the things and all the variables that contribute. Self-motivation or discipline and focus that are well written on and well documented in videos and Instagram and TikTok. And I just think, instead of scrolling, watching cats playing the piano every night, or instead of flicking on Tinder, or pick up a book and read 10 pages, or go on YouTube if you're visual and watch it. There's just such an abundance of information out there that I think not to get better at something, I was not saying not be good, because not everybody will get good, but not to get better at something all the time as choice and as laziness if you're not doing it. You can't say you want to be good at something but then not self-develop.
Yeah, 100%. So what would be some practical ways then that you can integrate self-development into your life without it seeming like a big overwhelming task that you need to try and figure out how to do every day?
10 pages a day if you like reading. If you don't like reading like me, if you like reading a book a week, I think it's different for everybody. I have this great wee thing called Blinklist. Shout out to Blinklist, they're great. I don't enjoy reading loads of books and I'll explain why. It's 353 pages in a book. 53 pages of those books are of value to me because I read books for an education and self-development. The other 300 is the story that gets you to the end.
Yeah.
So I have a wee app that someone reads the book and then gives you all the valuable information out of it. So I use that app. Some people like watching 2-hour podcasts. People love listening to audiobooks. Some people like full books. I just think you got to learn, and you just got to figure out your capacity. If I read more than 10 pages in a book in a day, my brain starts to die a little bit. Well, it doesn't actually die, but I start to get quite sleepy quite quick. I don't know why. Something about reading just makes me really sleepy. So I learned that if I read 10 pages, if I'm feeling very energetic, I maybe do 15, 20. If I'm on a plane and I read a book, I can't get past 20 pages and I'm sleeping. I don't know why it makes me tired, but reading makes me really tired. So I would much rather watch someone explain that in a YouTube video. So I think you've just got to pick your poison. Audiobooks, Blinklist, full books, YouTube, Instagram.
And I think it's also finding a way that suits you and suits, I guess, your lifestyle. And because I think for a couple of years, I was like, I need to self-develop. I need to always be learning. I need to kind of always make sure I'm kind of getting an education. So I would do stuff, but it didn't seem like authentic to me. Yeah. And it didn't seem...
Yeah, I remember that.
So I feel like, and it wasn't... I never took as much as I probably could have or should have from those things because it wasn't me. It was a chore to do it. It didn't fit in with where I'm at. So I think it's really important to find something that fits you and fits your life, whether that's, I'll listen to podcasts in the morning when I'm getting ready for work because I can be doing other stuff, but I can be listening and I don't feel like, I have to then take a chunk out of my day to kind of commit to this when, I feel like time is such a valuable thing. So I feel like I'm not sacrificing one or the other, or it might be on your train or your bus or your drive, it's putting an audiobook on, or it's in the gym, or I think the secret is also finding things that fit your lifestyle. I've made years ago now, I made a completely separate Instagram just for stuff that I felt would add value. So you didn't have your Kim Kardashians or your, all of them on the Instagram because that's not going to add value. So I would just say, okay, 10 minutes every day, I would go on that one. And that would be the Instagram I'd go on when I wake up, because people always say don't go on your phone, but I liked going on my phone for 10 minutes when I woke up in the morning.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll make sure those 10 minutes
Yep.
are positive influences and adding value, as opposed to, you know, what so-and-so trying to sell online to me on Instagram now. So I think it's just creating environments and creating situations that is authentic to you and fits yourself.
Sure. Which is why I read 10 pages and don't go
Yeah.
bragging about reading full books. And I don't lie about my lack of reading. But just a wee thing to hit on with development, because people talk about it a lot and you are exposed, and it is laziness not to get better at something, because you don't have to pay any money. It just takes up a little bit of time, and most of the time you're on your phone anyway, like you say. Sometimes development's not learning new tricks, it's getting better at the old ones. I find a lot of people sometimes use it as an excuse for not doing it. Like, oh, but I'm reading a new book, and they're always, it's like somebody's always trying a new diet. Why don't you just pick one and stick to it? So be careful not to overlearn, because all you're doing is changing things. Because again, there's 1,000 sales books, but there's an infinite way of getting to 10.
Yeah.
It's an infinite way. You just got to pick it. So self-development isn't always about learning new things. Self-development is about getting better at old things to a degree. And then when I've excelled at that and I've maxed that out, now it's time to add something new to it. So I think a lot of times people spend too much time learning, and this might seem silly. I work with people who just try to learn new things all the time, and I'm like, why don't you just keep working on the old things at work? Because consistent things work and build your confidence. Again, let's relate it to a song. If you sing a song 1,000 times, you'll sing the song the 1,000th time way better than you sung it the first time. It's the same song with the same lyrics, with the same dance routine. But your confidence will be way higher because you've sung that song so successfully so many times. And I try and drill that at people, because they're always like, all right, what do I need to learn next? I'm like, well, you've not perfected the thing you learned the last time. So, you know, until I've digested the book, I don't read a lot of books again. Until I've read the book, took the information for the book, digested it, figured out what I want to implemented it, that then became a normal part of what I do. Then I'll read another book.
Yeah. And I think it's also taking from that what you need at that time.
Yep.
You're not going to read a book and need that whole book and make, you know, all the changes in that book, because that's not what you need at that time. I think you can read the same book 5 times and take very different lessons from it every single time.
Yep.
So it's not putting also that pressure on to be like, this book has to change my life and I need to like become a different person by the time I get to the end of it and stuff like that. It's just taking this is going to sound so cheesy, but what serves you at that time.
Yes, right. Yeah, they're right. It's not cheesy.
So I think a perfect place to end then, and the last question we'll end on today is, we've been talking about self-development. So someone wants to get into sales, or someone's just started sales, or even someone who's been in sales for a year's time, but wants to go more of a self-development journey. Do you have any recommendations? Any books that are good starting points? Any podcasts? Any people to follow?
Depends on what you're working on. I'll say some, Mentality, Relentless, anything by Tim Grosvenor if you want to learn about. His first book's called Relentless, his second one's called Winning. They speak for themselves. I think they're awesome for mindset and understanding what it takes to be at the top of your game. I think if you're looking to improve people's skills, how to win friends and influence people, as a book written about communicating with other people, which is sales, right? I think mindset, things like Eckhart Tolle, which is A New Earth, which teaches you about your ego. It lets you understand the power of now, which helps you with focus and discipline and being in the now. Try to think off of the top of my head, heading by, I think it's Stephen Covey, about habits, James Clear. There's some authors that come to mind. Tim Ferriss. So there's loads of authors out there that are really good. Anything by John C. Maxwell in leadership. So I've went into leadership here, but I'm just trying to think of good authors. People whose podcast and information I love: Alex Hormezi, Dan Henry, Ed Milet, Andy Elliott. There's loads of people out there. But for this, I think you've got to pick. You got to find stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy the way Tim Grosvenor writes. I enjoy how Ed Milet speaks. I enjoy how Alex Hormezi speaks. I enjoy that. There's some other people that I don't enjoy, So I think there's 1,000 books, there's a million podcasts. I'm sure there's a million on sales, right? And I've not seen them all. And you just got to go through them, find the information that you're more drawn to, and then just kind of hone in and double down on that. A must in sales is how to win friends and influence people, non-negotiable for anybody who wants to be good, and communication, period. That book's written by Dale Carnegie, and it's the first book I ever got told to read, and it's still my favourite book to this day. It actually helped me with my relationships with my kids and wife, and because it taught me to be a better communicator, hence the name, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
And in sales, you got to win people's trust and influence them, right? But it's not written about selling, it's written about the art of communication.
Yeah.
Sure, there's loads more books we could go through. We got loads in the office and podcasts, but they're off the top of my head, the ones that pop in. Anytime somebody asks me that question, they're the books and they're the people I kind of send them to. You might like Grant Cardone, you know, there's other people out there that are awesome and teach sales, or that dude for the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Jordan Belford, right? Got a lot of game, but might not be everybody's cup of tea. But
It's finding your tribe.
that's it, is finding the information you like. And again, I feed my Instagram with these people, so at least if I'm going to go on Instagram or going to go on TikTok, it's fed with things that add some value to my life rather than devalue my brain cells a little bit sometimes. I'd like to write an authentic book one day. Well, it's a good one day to put it, but again, I'd just be one of a million people who've wrote a book on how to sell, and everybody's got their own way of describing things and saying it, and their own opinions and things, and I don't agree with everybody else's opinions, and I'm quite sure they wouldn't agree with my opinions, but if you put 5 chefs in a room and ask them how to cook a steak, you'll start a fight.
Yeah.
So just find the people that you're into, go searching, and you might find people that I've not mentioned.
100%.
Yeah, not everyone's cup of tea.
Well, that's what makes the world a great place.
Oh, wow. Sounds like a
God,
news
what
report.
a wholesome part to end
that was
on.
like that. Yeah, that was like in a news show, and they finished quite cheesy.
Who knew I was so wholesome?
Good night, Glasgow. Sleep well.
Thank you for your time, and we'll be back next month.